Good evening, everyone. Hello, hello. Leighton Ricada. Not quite. Not quite. But hello, everybody. So, welcome to the Thursday night stream. I am your host, Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal, and we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight. Got a couple different things to talk about. We've got, some updates in the Donald Trump cases that are going on. Sarah Boone published a new letter this week, and we're going to go through it. We're going to go through the Supreme Court denying the orders in the Second Amendment case that made its way up to it. We have a woman out of Tennessee being released from prison. For some reason, everybody's screaming and crying about it, saying how that's wrong. And yet when you read it, it makes a ton of sense. And then we have the discussion of what the FBI did in Utah and whether or not any of that was justified. So, Brimstone said, create a local chat. You should have one now. It's 100% running. I know it is. I will say, everybody out there on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, hello, Rumble. Rumble is being ridiculous tonight, so I don't know what's going on. Tried to set it up, and it did not connect. So, the FBI is never justified, yes. Well, with that being said, we need to check who was first tonight, because that is always what is important. Jim Satalo is first. Yes, congratulations, Jim. This is always what matters, because if you're not first, you're last. And then we have a couple super chats actually to get a hold of right now, and we'll get those out of the way. Fair Frozen 55 for $10. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Saying, Sean, if you don't want an old fashioned, get a mojito instead. I would drink a mojito. Or a strawberry daiquiri like a girl. I hope you found that shank. I wouldn't say I left it there in the magnolias, but maybe I did. Well, if I find it tomorrow, I'll let you know. Aaron Roll says, yes, I'm on time. Well, you're a little early, but yes, you were half hour early. But for $49.99, thank you. The monster super chat there saying, hope you have a wonderful birthday. Thank you for your hours of entertainment. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. And yes, if you guys were not aware, today is my birthday. This is a lot of fun. This morning we covered the Leah Remini versus Scientology lawsuit, which there's a lot going on there. But I think it'll be a pretty good one to cover going forward. And yeah, it's been a fun day. Hope you guys have had a great day. Probably not as good as mine, but hope it's been well. And I hope you guys are getting ready for a nice weekend. Who else do we have here? Unknown Hero for $5. Thank you. It says, happy birthday, Sean. Also, I'm going to come. Don't come. Don't come. It's my birthday. Don't come on my birthday. Please. It's my birthday wish. And then Darcy for $49.99. Holy cow. I guess we're going to have to break this out now since we're crossing thresholds here. Thank you, by the way. Saying happy birthday, Sean. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then Dragon Man Sassoon. It's like Vidal Sassoon. Like Dr. Dre's talking about ever since Honey was wearing Sassoon for $2. Saying happy birthday. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. 38 years I've managed not to drown in the shower or step into traffic. So, hey, I guess, here's to another 38 more of not stepping in traffic. So, let's see where you guys are. Nick says Brooks is supposed to go on trial again next week. Yes, Darrell Brooks is going on trial for his other cases in Wisconsin. I'm not sure if those are going to be covered. If they are, I may have time to touch on them, but I won't be able to have just full trial time to go over those. I also forgot to mention we will be covering tonight what happened in the Rust case. We were supposed to do the preliminary hearing, but that didn't happen, and we'll discuss why. Let's see here. This who we are says Danny On resides in Utah. Yes, she does, in Salt Lake City, which is, I don't know exactly. Provo's kind of near there, isn't it? Yes, she covered it last night as it was fresh and just happened. But I'd like to cover it too, but I'm going to get in touch with her about that. Let's see here. Yeah, I created your locals, so you're all set. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Unknown Hero for $2 says, reject the ATF, pet a pupper. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. Alpha Snork says, fuck, Sean is a year younger than me. Yeah, well, like I said, this has been happening since I was 14. It just took a long time for it to look decent. Wombat Mommy says, wait, I'm older than you? Mm-hmm. Sounds like it. Joshua Clark says, Radix Farah mentioned the guy, Joe and Dolio, they mean Joe Dolio from Tactical Wisdom, mentioned last night about being killed in Michigan. She has a whole video on Odyssey about it, quite the rabbit hole. I'm going to have to look into that. I also have to get a hold of her and message her because I'm curious to know what's going on there. Yes, rest in peace, Rusty Shackelford. Yeah, I think we'll start off there. And if you guys are new, we generally try to cover, have some small talk for the first 10 or so minutes to let people filter in. YouTube doesn't always tell people when it's time for me to come on. But the voice of Dale Gribble from King of the Hill sadly passed away. And there is no more Dale Gribble. But you know what? The government did not get Dale. So that is good news there. And yes, we'll touch on this very quickly just because Dale is a very formative person for growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was a very formative person for many of our growth and development. So Johnny Hardwick was the guy who did the voice of Dale, and he has since passed away, which sucks. But yes, he played Dale. Dale was a conspiracy theory obsessed friend. Well, a lot of Dale's theories were proven correct in the end. But yes, guns don't kill people. The government does. One of the biggest truths involved. So, yes, and if you guys don't remember Dale, that is Dale. And yes, sadly, he is no longer with us. So, and sadly, that's a big F in the sky for that. Yes, dang it, Dale. Garfield saying, what are they going to do with his character in the new series? They're going to probably say he's in prison or something, maybe. I don't know. Scam likely saying John Redcorn got him. That would be funny. That would be very funny to do it like that. But it will be interesting to see how they set that up going forward. Yes, Joshua Clark's right. Pocket sand. And before I get too further, I know there's people over on Locals right now in the Locals chat. Just want to say hello. I know some people here are new, but I do want to let you know that if you go to potentiallycriminal.locals.com, you can do 1 month free and use the promo code criminal, and that'll give you 1 month free to take a look around, see what's on there. If you like it, you could participate in all of the live chats that are going on right now. And then, for example, after tonight, after this show, we go on Locals. We generally do a live show, hang out for a little bit and talk. The neat part about over on Locals is we can use the same setup, the RTMP streaming. So I can use StreamYard. We can watch things together. We can look at the same things. It's actually very helpful. Does a lot. It's very versatile. We also do a show every Monday night. And then in addition to that, I will tell you, there's articles. I've released a couple of videos that are solely for over on locals. In addition to that, if you are a supporter, being a member is free. Being a member is free. It costs nothing to do that. But to become a supporter, it's $3 a month. If you pay for 10 months, you get 2 months free. With that support, you can also post articles and comments of your own. If you find something really neat out there, you can throw it up on the page and people can talk about it and look at it. So that's all available at potentiallycriminal.locals.com. So take a look around. The 1 month free comes with no strings attached. So certainly go ahead and try it. I highly recommend it. Okay, we're past the 10-minute mark, so I guess it's time to get started. We're going to start off with what we were supposed to be doing Thursday or Wednesday and into today was Hannah Reid. Now, if you guys remember Hannah Reid, she is the armorer for the Alec Baldwin movie Rust. And it was one of those guns she was in charge of handling that went off and shot a live round into Helena Hutchins, right in center, punched her right in the chest, and then injured the director. Alec Baldwin was charged with manslaughter. They since dismissed those charges. They're never coming back. Let's be real. They're not coming home. They're not coming back at all. I think we all know that. But what we did find out, though, was that Hannah Reid was going to have a preliminary hearing. And I know we talked about it last week, that there were going to be like 40 people involved. The state was going to call all kinds of witnesses. Well, that did not happen. And we know that because she waived her right to a preliminary hearing. So she did that last week. She did it on Friday. It was done very quietly. Not a lot of people heard about it. And there's a couple other things that are set up here. And what happens is, going forward for Hannah, we now have a couple different things going on. So on August 4th, she ended up waiving her preliminary hearing. Now, you always have the right to have a preliminary hearing, but you can also waive that right and say, you know what, if it's an information, you waive a preliminary hearing, you're going into trial. In Ohio, for example, that doesn't work that way. When you have a preliminary hearing and you waive it, you're just consenting to being presented in front of the grand jury and taking your chances with them. Now, the grand jury system has been abused in a shell of what it should be. I don't disagree with any of that, but given what we're dealing with here, Hannah Gutierrez Reid, or Reid Gutierrez, whatever, she waived her right to a preliminary hearing. And as you can see, it was done on August 4th, and they waived it. She has the right to a preliminary hearing and have the judge determine there's probable cause to bind you over to the district court for trial on the complaint. And for her, the complaint was charges of involuntary manslaughter, but also evidence tampering. The evidence tampering was a new charge, but that stems from the allegations that after Helena Hutchins was shot and killed, she gave some what are suspected to be drugs to another person to hide, because she couldn't have those on the set because, well, that looks really bad if she's out there getting high or selling drugs to people, and her job is to be in charge of the guns. A little bit of an oopsie poopsie. So she was charged with evidence tampering in addition. So she has the right to a preliminary hearing, and that was where they would bring everybody in and they would establish the probable cause threshold. Now, she waived that, and she went ahead and waived it, and her counsel signed and she signed, and then it was submitted. Okay, well, what did that leave us with? Well, yesterday, she went ahead and waived her arraignment and entered a plea of not guilty. Now, that is not uncommon either. She has been, the way it works in some places, they will let you do this, that she's facing involuntary manslaughter and evidence tampering charges, both felonies. She entered a plea of not guilty. She understood she was entitled to appear before the district court and enter a plea to the crimes charged or have her rights explained to her. She acknowledges she has a copy of the indictment, and I think in this case it's actually an information because the grand jury didn't return an indictment, but it's being on an information. She's read it and had it explained to her by her counsel, and she understands the potential charges that she's facing. She also understands she has a right to a jury, the right to assistance of an attorney at all stages, and to an appointed attorney furnished free of charge if she can't afford one. That is not one she is paying for her own attorney. She has the right to confront the witnesses against her and cross-examine them as the truthfulness of their testimony. Now, that's a trial or in a designated hearing. You can't just say, well, I want my witnesses there every time. That's not how that works. So you don't just get to say, I want them there. She can present evidence on her own behalf and have the state compel witnesses to appear and testify. She has the right to force people to appear by subpoena power. And if they don't appear, she could say, Your Honor, these are material witnesses. I need them to show up. They were subpoenaed. They didn't show up. And the court can determine, okay, yes, I will send the sheriff's deputies out to go enforce that subpoena, and they will drag a person in. It does happen. She has the right to remain silent, and then any statement made by her may be used against her. But if she refuses to testify, her silence cannot be used against her in any way, shape, or form, or in any inference to her guilt. She has the right to trial by jury, and all jurors must agree unanimously on her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And after reading all of this, she waives all of that, waives her arraignment. She understands her rights and enters a plea of not guilty. So she's got that done, and this is the signatures of it. This is actually normal. This isn't actually anything ridiculous here. So these are her orders setting her conditions of release. She's on a personal recognizance bond, meaning she is not having to post any money. And she agrees to the conditions of release that she can't possess a firearm. She can't go back to the film set. She can't consume alcohol. She can't buy, sell, or possess illegal drugs. She must notify the court if she ever changes her address, which is a very important thing. People may move around and they don't think to tell the court, and it's actually very critical. That's a very dumb way to get your bond revoked. She must maintain contact with her attorney and or seek and consult with an attorney. Okay. Avoid all contact with the alleged victim or anybody who may testify in the case. That's not abnormal either. That's a pretty standard term for a case like this. And then this idea down here about an ignition interlock, well, that's for a DUI case. We don't have one of those. Or be on pretrial supervision for other services. Well, there's no issues here. It's not like a drug case, things like that, where they might want to drug test her or check on her. She has to submit to random drug testing upon request. And here it just mentions where she has to go and what she'll have to do to get that done. So those are her terms and conditions of bond. And her mailing address, well, that's on here, and that's public information. So that is what's going on for her there. Now, what came out yesterday as well is, and actually, hold on here. You guys are... what happened here in this one is the amended trial order. Now, this is interesting because now we have some information that I'm sure you guys want to know. There is going to be a pre-trial on October 26th at 1 p.m. on Google Meet, and that'll be televised. The court has their own website, the court has their own YouTube page. The last day to submit a plea is October 31st, so on Halloween. Jury selection will begin in person December 5th. At 8:30 a.m. at the courthouse. So that is I think 10:30 here Eastern time. Because I think because it's Central time and then them, I think. I don't remember. The trial dates are December 6th through December 15th. And that will be given the days. So those are the potential dates she could be going. Although, to be fair, it's probably going to take them that many days because the jury selection is going to be long. And I could see that being a problem. So that is how you need to look at this. And yes, I have time. We might be able to cover that all. Now, do I think it's going to go at this point? Yes, because there's not... This isn't like the Trump case where there's terabytes of information. This is pretty straightforward. Her attorneys have a lot of it already. So that is what we're looking at is a December trial date. Well, Ombat Mommy says Alec Baldwin literally got away with murder. Yeah. Job well done says, did she skip bail? No, not yet. Not yet. Job well done says, oh, for my locals plug. That sounds like locals asked me to say that. Yes, there was a gun over here off the corner of the screen. So Lucental says he literally got away with manslaughter. Yes. Wombat Mommy saying, why so long? It's already been a couple of years now. This isn't that long of a time frame, really, to get set for trial within 90 days. Remember, there's already trials and other crap that's set on the schedule ahead of this case. So they can't just bump all of that out of the way. That's the first date they had available, probably, and then also worked with the attorneys. So that's actually not that long. That's a pretty short turnaround time. That's honestly how I would look at it. So I get the concern of like, well, oh my gosh, this has been dragging on and now it's going to go to December. Remember, that's about 3.5 months away. And I don't, and you guys might think it's not that long, but in the criminal world and the, trial world, time goes by super, super fast. I mean, a lot faster than you think. Sometimes it drags on when you don't have stuff ready to go and you're kind of in a pre-trial phase on a lot of things. Yeah, stuff might be dragging along and getting boring, but holy cow, when you're like July for me and now August for me is just zooming by. And we're 10 days in August and I feel like we're almost all the way through it already. So I totally, yes, this can happen. So don't, I get your concern there. James Hundley says, is Eric Hundley free now, or are they still harassing him? I have not heard any further about that. So I'm assuming, no news is good news. I'm sure they tried to threaten him and it didn't go anywhere. So I'm sure, yeah. So, I'm sure that's been done. And I know there's a couple more super chats here. I need to get on top of those. Just me for $9.99. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Saying, hey, I may call during a birthday stream, but if somebody starts banging on your door, it's not me. But it could be the Fed, so be careful. And yes, was just messing with you today with the LRH stuff. Oh, I totally get it. I appreciate it. It was fun this morning. So thanks for being there. Oh, you sent it twice. Did it? Oh, I think it sent it twice there. So thank you for doing it twice, or it's saying it's on here twice. So thank you. Thank you for your other super chat for the same thing. You might want to look at that so you don't get like double charged. And then Unhung Hero for $5 says, thank you, by the way. Is saying, have you been officially declared a suppressive person yet after the earlier stream? Did they assign you a Scientology Monty yet? No, but I'm sure I'm going to be declared a suppressive person because of that. Because of that video I did and the stream we did. And if you guys aren't aware, suppressive people are anybody the Church of Scientology deems, talks about them bad, and is a threat to them. So, yes. Eric Kutch says Eric is incarcerated. See, I talked with Eric probably about an hour and a half ago. I'm going to be on his laid back news stream at noon. I'm not sure what we're talking about tomorrow, but we'll be commenting on some things. So I know he's not in custody because he got a hold of me through Twitter. So don't worry about that. Now, I guess we'll move on to what's going on with President Trump. You guys, I know he's been indicted again, and this time up in the District of Columbia for being involved in the insurrection. Okay. Now, there are allegations he may be getting charged again down in Georgia. I don't think those are going to pan out. I'm not too worried about those. What in the meantime, though, is interesting is that for his case in the District of Columbia, the DOJ is going all out and they are asking for some ridiculous things there. I don't get it. I don't get why. Well, I mean, I get why they're doing it. We all know why they're doing it. So that's necessarily not the that's not the problem. But his attorneys asked to suspend speedy trial time from August 3rd till August 28th. The under the Speedy Trial Act, there is a 70-day window where things have to be brought unless parties agree, and justice warrants not doing that. And the government, in their wisdom, have decided to oppose it. And we'll go through their opposition real quick because it is very interesting, the arguments they're making. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that for right this second. Where is... Oh, I forgot to pop out chat. I need that out so I can read it. All right, there we go. All right. So this is the government's response in opposition to the speedy trial motion of the defendant. Which, oh, why is that coming in weird? I don't know why it's doing that, but whatever. So, oh, damn, I just lost it. Sorry, I got to reopen it. Live TV, everybody, live TV. So this is the government's response in opposition. Don't worry, guys. It's only 4 pages long. This motion, they point out that this motion seeks to exclude time from August 23rd, August 3rd to August 28th, and that's what Trump is seeking. What goes from here, though, is what Trump is looking to do. So, this is because, and they point out, the Speedy Trial Act does not necessarily mean a trial within 70 days. Rather, it means a fair and efficient trial within a reasonable period of time, including appropriate exclusions for reasons such as the time required for consideration of motions. Now, if you guys weren't aware, every time you file a motion as a defense team, you're tolling that time. So your speedy trial time's ticking away. The clock's ticking down. Think of it like football. And if I throw an incomplete pass, it stops the clock. Okay. Well, if I file a motion for discovery, to suppress, to dismiss, whatever it is, that eats up time. So otherwise, I could just file a bunch of motions and run out the clock. You can't do that. If I throw an incomplete pass, time stops. So in this case, speedy trial time stops. Now, they're arguing they should deny the motion without prejudice and reconsider it later when the trial date is set on August 28th. So they talk about here the 4 charges he's facing. And, you know, in addition, this is also, I would point out, was filed today. What they do talk about here is that they talk about the speedy trial time here, and they say that the government has multiple pleadings that they've put forward that it's unnecessary to grant the relief because these exclusions already exist by operation of the act. And they're saying, look, you're already asking for time to be held, so there's no problem. You know, they also point out that the defendant's motion fails to recognize the act and the Sixth Amendment protect not only the defendant's rights, but also the public's strong interest in the administration of justice. Now, this is their way of trying to push things through by claiming, oh, the public demands a speedy trial. No, only people worried about having it done before the election would care about that. They point out that the defendant says he needs time to review his discovery, which he does. But the defense has steadfastly refused to accept the discovery the government is prepared and organized to facilitate his review. Well, I'm sure that, yes, I'm sure you've offered them all kinds of stuff. But remember, they want you to do it inside a SCIF. They want you to follow all these rules. So they're not accepting any of that till they get the rules set up. Because otherwise, these rules are going to cripple his defense team. This matter raises significant constitutional issues and other novel questions of law and fact. It does. That's a big deal. Numerous critical motions. Yes. This is a brand new thing. Nobody's ever done this before. So this is just absolutely ridiculous. In the meantime, though, I will point out the defense is asking for, or the DOJ is asking for this trial to be set at the same time as the other one in May at the latest. And if not earlier, why? Well, if he's not ready for that one, we can do this one. Although literally they're both going to have massive terabytes and hundreds of witnesses on both cases. Oh, we're going to be ready by May. This is just Jack Smith and his people at the DOJ treating Trump like shit. And I will say this much. Think about it for this. They're doing this to him. Imagine how the DOJ treats most criminal defendants. They shit all over them, and it happens. Why? Because they can't fight back. So it is a little different for us. But now I think hopefully people are seeing what happens when you peel the veil back a little bit. Drive Me Closer says this is going to make the OJ trial look professional. Yeah. Wombat Mommy says at some point the DOJ wanted the trial to be televised. No, that was Schiff and the House Democrats were asking for that, but there's no way that could be granted. By law, that doesn't happen. So that was just them grandstanding and making a scene. So that's not going to change at all. So that is the update for Trump. We'll find out what happens as we go forward. So there'll be more updates next week. Now, moving on, this was one where people were panicking. People were getting upset. But I just want you guys to understand this is not the end of the world. And this is the 5-4 vote for the court to review and impose the stay on the ATF's regulations of ghost guns and the changes to what's considered a receiver under federal rules and rulemaking. Now, yes, I get it. The Supreme Court said, no, we're not going to uphold the order. But that's it. This is not the time to panic. This is not the time to lose your mind. Remember, it's the government. They're reluctant to just hamstring other government agencies like that off the bat. Now, yes, I understand there's concerns because Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett were over there on that side. But, it's got to get to them first. And this is going to go all the way up through. And we know that they'll get cert because Alito, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Thomas are all about this. They voted to stay. So they're going to grant cert to this. So don't worry about that. It'll get to where it needs to go. So if you guys didn't know, that is a spooky 80% receiver. I have one that looks just like that from polymer80.com. So in defending the rule, the vote was 5-4. And it was Roberts, Barrett, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Ketanji Brown Jackson to form the majority. Okay. The change was needed to respond to the urgent public safety and law enforcement crisis posed by the exponential rise of untraceable firearms. There's already a ton of untraceable firearms that don't have serial numbers that were illegally made over the past 150 years. The new regulation does not ban the sale and possession of kits and components that can be assembled to make guns, but it does require manufacturers and sellers to obtain licenses, mark their products with serial numbers, and conduct background checks. So the way it was going to work is if you wanted to buy a polymer 80 kit, or if you wanted one of these bad boys, 80% lower, this would have to become serialized, and you'd have to fill out a 4473 to get one. I couldn't just have them dropped off at my house. That doesn't mean I couldn't sit there with a CNC machine and take a block of aluminum or a 75% lower and knock one of these out and go forward from there. But the way the ATF defined what a firearm could be and a receiver could be, basically companies could sell blocks of metal and those will be considered firearms if that's how they're going to intending for them to be sold. And I don't know where the hell to put this so it doesn't fall over. And if that crashes, stay. So yes, and the biggest issue is the ATF doesn't have the authority to define what makes a firearm receiver. That is defined by federal law, and they're not allowed to modify federal law. That's Congress's purview, and that's been the argument all along. So that is the issue. Now, oh my God, it's a scary thing about ghost guns. I've listened to this before, and it is absolutely hilarious. You know, what does it mean? We made one to find out. I'm pretty sure they violated New York law by doing that. But the district court said the weapons parts kit is not a firearm, that which may become or may be converted to a functional receiver. And he pointed out, even if it's true that this creates loopholes, it's not the role of the judiciary, but the role of Congress to fix that. And that's the argument. If you want to change the law, pass the law. Don't ask the government just to fill it in. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals refused to keep the stay going. So that's why it ended up in the Supreme Court. So and yes, I remember reading one of these comments, and it was, if you sold a taco kit in a grocery store, nobody would call it a taco. In addition to assembly, turning it into one would require cutting, grinding, and cooking the meat until that was done. And it would be nonsensical to treat the food as the equivalent of a taco. Yes, and they point out that more than 19,000 firearms without serial numbers were recovered by the authorities in 2021. Well, are those ones that didn't have serial numbers? Is that ones that were grinded off? It's not clear. And that approximately, and that in the 11 months prior, 23,000 suspected, meaning they can't verify. They have a hunch, but they're going to suspect those are verified homemade firearms. So maybe, but they don't actually know. So that is the issue there. And we'll find out what happens going forward. I just want everybody to know, don't panic. Don't freak out. Tacos shall not be infringed. Yes. Yes. Carrying Matchett saying happy birthday. Yes. Hello. And one of you guys over on Locals, what did you guys say so far? Besides just like piles of horses and women humping each other down there. Oh, it's actually pretty decent for once. P Mike over on Locals sent a $25 super chat saying happy birthday. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Mullen LeVay 1371 for $20. Thank you. Is saying, have you seen the prosecutor in the CRS case? That's Matt Hoover where basically he's accused of violating the NFA by talking about things and exercising his First Amendment right. Somebody placed a gag order on John Crump, a journalist, for receiving and discussing Matt Hoover's pre-sentence report. Happy birthday and fuck the ATF. Well, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. And believe it or not, you will not believe who I was talking to before this started. Matt LaRosiere, Matt Hoover's attorney on that case. And what I will say, though, is John Crump fucked around in this case and is causing fucking problems. John Crump needs to go sit on the fucking sidelines and let this guy handle his business in front of the court. John Crump is not helping Matt Hoover get the best fucking possible outcome that he can get. So John Crump needs to go chill the fuck out. No, Mullen, I'm not talking to you personally. I'm not trying to shit on you, man. I'm just saying, John Crump is not helping the fucking situation at all in any way, shape, or form. You dumb fuck. You are causing problems and fucking around with something you don't fully comprehend. I hope you hear this. I hope you hear this. There's nothing you can say that explains why you think trying to get a hold of somebody's pre-sentence investigation report is a good fucking idea other than to generate fucking clicks. There is no reason for that. And then you guys jump into this case where this guy's trying to get out of here without the judge burning him down and throwing in a fucking amicus brief? Are you fucking serious? Come on now. Come on now. You're fucking around in somebody's pool and you just took a massive shit in it. Get out of the pool. Don't sit there and explain to us why it's okay, why you took that shit, or why you had a good reason for it. No. You took a shit in the pool, get out of the pool, nobody wants you in there. Mark is saying, do we hate John Crump now? I don't hate him, but he's fucking around in some guy's freedom that's at stake. I mean, Matt Hoover's looking at potentially, he's looking at jail time, going back to prison. He's looking at going to prison over this. He needs to fucking stay out of it. Why are you running around with a court document and trying to solicit court documents? Like, what made you think that was a good fucking idea to start with? I mean, I don't know too much about him, but he's not, if I was going to put somebody on the gold medal winning team for the good decision-making Olympics, I'm not putting him on it based upon this performance. So that's the issue. You guys are wondering, who is John Crump? Well, I guess I'll bring him up here. John Crump is, and we'll just bring this up here. This is John Crump, a journalist, activist, and podcaster. He's a writer for AmmoLand News, host of Fireside Chats, and is a Virginia State Director for Gun Owners of America. He fucked around in something that wasn't his to be fucking around with. That's the problem I have with him. It's difficult enough to get through a criminal case as is. We don't need other people coming out of the woodwork and causing problems. Job well done, says he Ben Crump's brother. Yes. So Ken says John Crump can get a hold of my pre-cum investigation report. He just has to ask. Oh. No, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a journalist. But trying to fuck around with this guy's case, like, what are you getting out of that? Scooping up the clicks and the updo's great. But now you're potentially fucking this guy over. So what does that do for anything? That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about it. Sorry that super chat turned into a little bit of a Sorry I turned that super chat into a bit of a there, but it's fucking hilarious. I'm like, funny you mention that. And don't worry, I'm sure when this case is over, Matt LaRosiere is he'll let John Crump know what he thinks too. But I just from what I know, John Crump, if you're hearing this, you fucked up, bro. You done fucked this up and caused problems. You're not helping anybody. So, but thank you for the super chat. Philip Kogan says, isn't Fuddbusters his lawyer? Yes. Fuddbusters is Matt LaRosiere, and he is Matt Hoover's attorney who defended him in the CRS case and got acquittals on a bunch of counts. Like, they did a good fucking job. They did a bang-up job for what they did. They got fucked ultimately because the jurors are idiots. But they did a phenomenal job. That's the thing. I said this back when it happened. Those guys kicked a lot of ass. They took it to the federal government and they beat the ATF like they owed them money. So, Carrie's saying, why don't you have a normal chat that's live on Locals? It's 100% normal. It's going right now. It's 100% going if you go over there and take a look for it. So, as far as Joshua, I can't comment on that because I don't know what's been done or disclosed yet, so I want to leave that part alone. But I've been privy to some information, and I'm going to leave it at that. But Matt, if you're watching this and you're going to start reading, my apologies, because I actually do care what you think. So hopefully that wasn't too much. And then where are we at here? All right, we're caught up there. Over Locals, Brimstone for $20 saying happy birthday. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Happy birthday. Yes, 38 years of surviving. So, next thing out there. Sheriff Fuck saying, if we get Sean drunk enough, would I spill more tea? Yeah, sure. Got all kinds of tea in my pocket. Now, moving on. Eric's saying, how do I like my taco meat boiled? Ugh. Yes. So, moving on, our girl, America's sweetheart, Sarah Boone, the luggage packing specialist that has stolen America's hearts and packed it up into a nice little suitcase. Well, she has written a letter again. And it's not the one we've already covered. It's a brand new letter. And here we go with that letter. Why did that not want to load? I hate this damn thing sometimes. All right. So Sarah Boone sent another letter. And it was filed on August 7th. She wrote this August 2nd. Okay. To Judge Wayne Wooten. And remember, this judge, when you send him everything, it gets put on the docket. But she knew that. She did say, please see the included letter I received from my investigator. And even though she's got a court-appointed attorney, there are times where you are able to retain experts. So they're already retaining a domestic violence or battered spouse expert, but they're also going forward. They have a private investigator. That's not uncommon on a big case like this. Smaller ones, though, if you're appointed, guess what? Who's the private investigator? You. Until you need some help, and then you get another person who can be the witness. That they provided with an update on why we have been unable to meet since our last uneventful meeting with my attorney, Frank Bankowitz, on May 18th. My investigator also has not been able to make contact in any attempts to move forward and produce very much needed and overdue progress in my case. I, as Mr. Bankowitz's client, cannot communicate with him via phone due to him still not activating one of two numbers he's given that do not work, and he keeps giving me different reasons each time I ask to keep trying. This has been ongoing for 13 months and counting. By not activating, he is actively hindering progress, compiling even greater amounts of carryover. I'm not carrying over what? I mean, you didn't carry over your boyfriend. You just left him in there. And in the meantime, information for review when if we do eventually meet in person. The last time to date was 77 days. Prior to that, 98. And then 147 days prior to that one. With the aforementioned being said, Judge Wayne C. Wooten, would you please be gracious enough to communicate to my attorney to supply the requested simple information my investigator needs, considering the number of days and weeks in between our meetings with him. And we can be working in the meantime until he's able to visit with me. His client for over a year, now adding to the soon-to-be 4 years I've already been here. Please see the previous letter regarding all 6 of my attorneys. I'm sure he knows about all your attorneys, Sarah. My innumerable attempts have been completely unsuccessful. And any form of communication with Mr. Bankowitz via phone, letters, email, and voicemails attempted by an outside source. Once again, that is a big problem for me still. She says, what else can I do, Your Honor? It seems my only hope is for a court date, which I'm included in, where my attorney's attendance is mandatory and I can vie for his attention during the minute minutes beforehand while in the courtroom. I'm sure all the allowed live cameras can provide footage of me doing so every time. I don't want to waste any more time, and catch up in the courtroom is unfair and ridiculous. When can we have a real meeting? What the heck? Please enable progress, Judge Wooten, not hinder. Justice system means we have to work together. I've got the whole world incorrectly against me already. As stated by my investigator, we are at a loss without communication in any form with my attorney. Thank you for your invaluable time. I am grateful for your ethical awareness, fairness, and understanding and perspective. Activate the inactivity. That just sounds like some Tony Robbins shit right there. Activate your inactivity. You know, Jordan Peterson said, activate your inactivity. Integrate your shadow. Wash your penis, bucko. Actively seeking success in anything. That also just sounds like a self-help book right there. So this is from her investigator. It's part of the legal mail. So I've received your letter. We've made multiple attempts to contact your attorney since our meeting, but unfortunately, I've been unsuccessful. I'm not sure what is causing the issue. On May 22nd, I sent him an email requesting to contact the jail so I can have access to visit you and proceed with the mitigation process in person. Mitigation process. That's an interesting thing there, guys. If anybody's unfamiliar with that mitigation process, well, that's been interesting. Because what are we mitigating here? Well, that's what are we mitigating? You know, are we looking to plea? That's interesting the way they phrase that. Additionally, I sent 2 text messages to his phone on June 1st and again on June 6th, but did not receive a response. Without a letter from the attorney sent to jail, I'm unable to visit you in person at the jail, which is true because that attorney has to say, yes, this guy's part of my team. I'm at a loss to reestablish contact with your attorney. If you wish, you can write to me, and I will again send the letter as soon as I'm in touch with him again. Which, if this is really going on like this, I got a lot of problems. Like, I don't like how our attorney is handling stuff. I mean, that's a little bit problematic to me. So that's a bit problematic. And that's from her attorney or her private investigator. And this is from her. This is just, they also include the envelope just to show that it was filed. And they also include she included the envelope that he sent her from her investigator. So it's getting very interesting what's going on out there. It is very interesting what is going on. I don't know what this means ultimately, but I don't like it. JKD says, yes, it's an airtight case. Oh. President-elect 4 doors, more horrors for $199. Okay, I was trying to come up with something like this. This is it. You know, she was worried about the carryover, but her boyfriend is a carry-on. Oh. Bravo, sir. Bravo. Chadwick Myers saying the way I highlight the lines in this makes it more serial killer like in tone. Well, I'm just trying to read along. Just trying to make it work. Yes, Ken's right. Prison Break Investigations sounds legit. Well, hey, that's a pretty good name to have. So, oh, Carrie saying, "Damn it, Sean, I sent you $100 on locals for your birthday, and it's stupid." Well, holy cow, Carrie, thank you. Carrie says you have black on black, and I am black on my phone. I can't see it. I'm sorry, but anyway, thank you. I mean, I can't see it on the right this second, but I take your word for it. So I guess that calls for that. Yes, Kimbo, you're right. It'd be funny if she got smuggled out of prison in a suitcase. Yes. Anyways, thank you, Carrie. So Sarah Boone, we will find out what happens with her. But if she really can't get through her attorney, that is not acceptable. Nico saying, I feel like she keeps on getting carried away with the letters of the court. I get that, but I do have some problems with this. I don't like how this is going for her. So moving on to a issue now, and we'll did not include this for some reason. We'll get to this and we'll start here. So this came up on Twitter, and I understand people. Well, I actually don't understand people. This is once again, you need to read the story to figure out what's going on, and if you want to scream, cry, and lose your mind, fine, but you need to be doing it for the right reason. So I saw this multiple times over on Twitter, and it's this case involving a woman named Angel Bumpus. Actually, real quick here. Kimbo Nice saying, can the court ban people from writing letters? No, the court cannot ban the defendant from communicating. The defendant has the right to communicate. So, no, that can't be done. Jim is saying everyone's dying to know who's first on locals tonight. Oh, who was first on? Oh my gosh. Who was first on locals? Are you going to be telling me you're the first on everything? Who got the first? Damn, Jim, you got the first there too. Attaboy. Attaboy. So I will start on. Congratulations. Congratulations are well earned, well deserved. Eliza's saying, you mean X? No, it's Twitter to me. I'll dead name it forever. So what I will. Kimbo saying, you hear that, Sarah? Time to up your letter volume. I'm sure it's only going to increase from here. The more he doesn't see her. So this was a case where, just reading this alone, a Tennessee judge dismissed the case against a woman who was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison for the slaying of a man who was bound with duct tape and robbed when she was 13 years old. Okay. excluding this part here, from when she was 13 years old and received a life sentence, the Supreme Court, you can't just do that, number one. Number two, most states, like 14 is the bare, like, you really can't try people younger than that generally. So either way, people were losing their minds over this, saying, wow, justice is dead. Did anybody fucking read the story? Because it's kind of important to read the story to know, wait, why am I pissed off about this? I mean, maybe there was a reason for it. Like, gee, yeah, there's no way there would not be a reason for this. I get the idea that, it's a liberal judge just letting people free. It does happen. But in this case, there were a lot of issues, and we'll talk about them here. So, Angel Bumpus had her murder case dismissed by a Hamilton County judge. Yeah. So she was convicted of murder for killing that happened when she was 13 and had her case dismissed. She was found guilty of premeditated murder in 2019, almost 10 years after it happened. So she was 24 years old when she got tried. And she was sentenced to life in prison, but was granted a new trial and released from jail last year. She's been the subject of a national movement on people who found her conviction unjust, saying she would not have been capable of the crime at that age. Well, that's not true. A 13-year-old can murder someone, but I don't think generally they would qualify for being tried as an adult. So the judge said that the motto of the Tennessee judiciary, which I don't speak Latin, but the English translation of it is, "Let justice be done, though the sky may fall." Now, I think the better, more theatrical way of saying it is just like Roy Garrison said in Kevin Costner said in JFK, "Let justice be done, or may the heavens fall." And I think that's true. If there is no justice, may it all fall down, because we don't have a world at that point. So the district attorney is the reason why this is being dismissed. They declined to want to prosecute it further, so the judge has no choice but to dismiss the case. If they're seeking to dismiss the counts, well, guess what? The judge can't say, no, I'm not dismissing it. Despite what Emmett Sullivan tried to do in Mike Flynn's case, he has no authority to stop that. And here the district attorney said the conviction does not always equal justice. And he says the right thing for once. It's the state's role to seek out the truth. That's what's important for the state, not to get the conviction, but to figure out what happened and put those people responsible on trial. So the dismissal was without prejudice, meaning they can always try her again. And they were getting ready to go to trial. But in the meantime, since she's been out on bond, her attorney has been speaking with the DA. And those talks included the results of a polygraph test, a second one, that were submitted to the prosecutor, showing that his client had no involvement in the death. Now, polygraphs are not admissible in court, but they can be used to stave off an indictment, especially in cases where, like, sex offenses are being alleged. Like, if you come into my office, there's a very good chance I might say, okay, well, what are you accused of doing? Oh, I got accused of diddling my niece. Okay, cool. Do you want to try to head this off of the past? Because obviously the police don't believe you. And I would contact them and they'd say, we think he did it. Okay. So what you can do at that point is, and I recommend this, a lot of attorneys do, well, we'll go have you sent to a polygraph examiner, a private one. Nobody has to know about it. You'll go down there. And part of a good polygraph examination is also a verbal interrogation aside from that. And there are a lot of, ex-cops that do it, and they will interrogate you hard, just like they're a cop. And if you pass, well, I'll take those test results and go wave them around in front of a prosecutor saying, look, he passed this. And you know what? If it's clear that there is no deception, generally prosecutors are like, okay, great. I don't think he did it. Now, if he bombs it, well, nobody ever knows about it, and we kind of throw it away and pretend it didn't happen. But there, obviously if she passed it, that is a big deal. So, the CR says they're not admissible. Yes, but if they're helpful to my client, I will provide that information to the state. So, and like they said, although not admissible in court, she passed the test both times. And that's important because that reinforces her statements. And the DA says he took a look at the evidence and it showed her that she was not the only participant and she may not have been involved in it. Okay. He says, we know that there is at least one person responsible for the offense who's not been located or identified. And they think that person's the culpable person. Okay. And it's interesting because they spoke to Mallory Vaughn, who was a co-defendant of Angels. And Mallory got acquitted in 2019. So that's interesting. The one girl who they accused of being there, oh, she's not guilty. And the other one, oh, well, she did it. So, yes, she's getting out. Now, they did try to point out that they found this guy who was murdered. Oh, God, what's his name? Franklin Bonner. He was found duct taped pretty bad. And it was he had duct tape around his feet, arms, head, nose, and mouth. And he was suffocated with that duct tape. And Vaughn, who was an adult at the time, were identified as suspects. And almost 10 years later, the family of this dead guy asked them to take another look. So Angel was arrested for a no-show for a speeding ticket. Her fingerprints partially matched, allegedly. So, but they did point out that how were fingerprints on duct tape? Well, she did arts and crafts and used duct tape, and that the grandpa did repairs at that home. So there's a plausible explanation that's out there. And after 5 hours of deliberation, the jury acquitted Vaughn of all the charges. And then Bumpus was granted a new trial in September last year, and her attorneys have been preparing. So, once again, while people want to freak out and piss and shit and scream and cry, like here, I guess justice is dead. The DA believes she didn't do it. Releasing innocent people does sound like justice to me. It sounds like justice to most rational people. Like some of these people, like, I remember this case, she should still be in prison. Thanks, SCOTUS. The DA doesn't believe this lady did it. What more do you fucking want from these people? When the prosecutor's like, yeah, I don't think she did it, or she didn't have the role of the murder, sorry. Like, what do you want them to say? No, fuck it. Throw these people in jail. Fuck it. And that's the problem. These damn boomer cons. And this is the issue. It's like a liberal value. The DA says she's innocent. I don't think she did it. Is that a liberal value, or is that him just like, the evidence doesn't bear it out? No, fuck it. We got to put her in jail. I mean, come on now. Come on now. This isn't sloppy tampon time. If people are wrongly in prison, they should be let out. I don't care how slippery and slidey your tampon gets and how much you scream when it falls out, because then you just drizzle all over the floor and you can't stand up and you're slipping and falling everywhere. The only answer to that is put in a new tampon, because we're dealing with people who might be wrongfully imprisoned. Guess what? They should be out if you're not that sure. This who we are says, is there a video about this case? Not yet, no. A job well done says, did they check to see her, did they check to see if she had how to pass a polygraph in there? No. No. Cody's saying, catch you on the replay. Have a great show. Well, thanks for stopping by, Cody. Ken saying law Karens. Well, this isn't even law Karens. These are like boomer cons. Like, and they're also, let's be real, they're also going to be like, well, fuck her. She's black. She probably did it. Like, okay. Yes, they think everybody's guilty because they've been accused. And Darcy, you're right. We want the DA to take a good look at cases. If they, hey, this could be wrong. Well, you want them to say, fuck it, I already said she's guilty. No, you want to be like, oh, wow, this might be correct. I mean, I have a guy who I did his appeal. And his court-appointed attorney, the public defender's office, they screwed up. They really screwed up. And he got convicted of a crime where double jeopardy applied, but it wasn't brought up on the record. So we can't bring it up. But what I did in the meantime was I still made the arguments. And I know the Court of Appeals is going to shoot it down. But I had that prosecutor's office. They called me and said, hey, man, if he can prove this and we can get the proper documentation, we have no problem going back into court and we'll bring him back, dismiss that charge, and that'll knock 3 years off his sentence. I mean, that's what we want them to do. We fucked up. We had a fucky-wucky, and this guy got charged and convicted wrongfully. He already got charged in another county for the same crime. And they called me and want to make it right. I didn't even prompt them. I had just filed it, and they took 2 or 3 days to read it, and they got back to me. They contacted me and said, we want to make it right. I mean, don't we want them to do that? I mean, listen to these people they're gonna let that criminal off for 3 years. Yeah, because he shouldn't have been charged and convicted for it. Well, that's just fuck that. I'm thrilled that office contacted me. That was an awesome feeling that they actually were legitimate about it. Because you don't always get that. You got a bunch say, well, maybe we'll have to take a look at it. I don't know. And they'll fucking fight and claw or be like Kamala Harris and fight tooth and nail to keep people in fucking prison all the time. So no, this is a good outcome. We want this outcome. Zero's SMSS says it is a liberal value, but the classical kind. Yes. Clip that. Sure. Sure. It's Trenton says, are you implying law Karens aren't boomers? A bunch of them are. Toto Vader says, me out of context, you're accused of diddling your niece. Okay, cool. Yes, exactly. Furby Sayer's right. People don't understand liberty. And I think that's a very true statement. And it's sad that people don't understand it. And how fragile it is. I mean, this stuff is dangerous if it's not protected. And to slack off on it and to have these, garbage takes like that, it's a very, very threatening and dangerous problem. But I think it's important to discuss that issue because that is highly critical. I think it is very, very critical. Now, on to probably a little bit more of a little bit of a more lighter topic. And this will be probably the last light topic for them. Well, you know what? We're just going to go. We're going to go into the one that's going to be rough to talk about because why the fuck not at this point? Why the fuck not? Oh. If you guys were not aware, Utah, in Provo, Utah, a man was killed by the FBI trying to allegedly serve a warrant as part of a raid. So, and I'll bring up his picture, and we still don't know everything yet. Chad was saying the Iowa point shaving. We're going to cover that last. We need something not as serious to get to the end. Something not as serious. So This is Craig Robertson. He was 75. Now, Craig, like a typical boomer, uses Facebook to talk a lot of shit. Like a lot of shit. Like a lot. Like piles of shit. And ran his mouth like a real boomer. And he used True Social and he used Facebook to do it. Among other things. But those were the two that became very important. So what happened was the FBI got tipped off to some information and things he had been commenting on. And, well, it was a bit of an issue. And it's a lot of concern because it's not clear, but I will say the media has done a hit job on this guy. So here's what's been going on Twitter. So here's a picture of Craig, but also here's a picture of Craig, which, if you guys aren't aware, this is the most boomery gun setup ever. I mean, I don't even think that's a real helmet. And yes, like a real boomer, he's got a flashlight and a visible laser. You know, I'm sure Craig was in the just as good crowd. But we'll get to what the issues were. And the reason why we can get to that is the FBI released the complaint against him. And we're going to go over that real quick. This CBR says it looks like paintball attire. Well, that's typical for boomers and, you know, people who claim they're gun people, but they're not really gun people because they buy all the janky shit. Okay. So this is from the United States District Court, District of Utah. It was a felony complaint that was sealed. So he got charged with making interstate threats, charged with influencing, impeding, retaliating against federal law enforcement officers, and then threats against the president. So the judge is redacted, the magistrate is redacted, and they talk about the interstate threats. So Craig DeLeroy Robertson, he made a bunch of threatening statements, allegedly. One of them was to Alvin Bragg. Now notice, they don't tell you, on or about March 18th of 2023. Okay, so he apparently made this to Alvin Bragg in March. So he said, heading to New York to fulfill my dream of eradicating, and like a real boomer, he's not spelling right. I'm eradicating another of George Soros's 2-bit political hacks, hack DAs. I'll be waiting in the courthouse parking garage of my suppressed Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm, smoke a radical fool prosecutor that should never have been elected. I want to stand over Bragg and put a nice hole in his forehead with my 9mm and watch him twitch as a drop of blood oozes from the hole as his life ebbs away to hell. Now, for those of you who may have been there and done that to people, I'm sure you're looking at this saying that's not how people die. And yes, if you've ever dealt with people dying, that's not how they die. So they say bye-bye to another corrupt bastard, and all in violation of 18 USC 875. Okay. So they also claim that on or about March 24th that he did threaten to assault and murder federal agents who were investigating him. Okay, and they claim that they were scared. And then on August 7th, he threatened the president, allegedly. He said, I hear Biden's coming to Utah, digging out my old ghillie suit and cleaning the dust off the M24 sniper rifle. Welcome, buffoon in chief. Okay, so they talk about the elements. I'm not really worried about those. It's the probable cause that's the issue here. So when they talk about what they found from him, on March 19th, they received a notification which came through their National Threat Operations Center regarding a threat to life. They received a tip from a social media company, Company One, regarding the username Winston for Eagles, which that's his username. And it was a platform to kill DA Alvin Bragg. Now, Gateway Pundit was running around screaming about this. It's not hard to figure it out if you can read. Okay, so this is the screenshot. Okay, so what is this from? Well, Truth. I wonder if that means True Social. It does. This is the True Social post. So this is the actual statements he made, blah, 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 blah. Now, he said this in March. He never went to New York. So, did he actually do it? No. Nothing happened in March. Notice, he got killed in August. So, later in March, a couple days later, they conducted physical surveillance near his address. So they observed him. They found a heavyset white male, approximately 70 to 75 years old. Okay, yeah, sounds like a real killer, gentlemen. You know, he's wearing a dark suit, and he was later observed having an AR-15 style lapel pin attached. Oh no! He's one of those homosexual gun humpers. Oh no, so scary. So scary. To the poor little FBI men. It's so dangerous. So dangerous. I'm betting they got the seats in their car got soaking wet from all the menstruating. And he was wearing a hat bearing the word Trump on the front. Oh no. Just so scary. I mean, guys, he's talking about Trump. Oh no. Oh no. Scream the ATF. The CBR says, what's his ARFCOM handle? Ooh, fair enough. Fair enough. That is funny. Yes, the FBI killed a man for boomer posting. Yes. Yes. So there's a bunch of issues, and we're going to get to them, guys. But I just wanted you guys to understand, here's what they're talking about. So they watched him, and they drive, and they traveled a short distance into the parking lot of a church. And I talked with Joe Dolio and Sniper and some other guys about this last night. That's because March 19th was a Sunday. Who'da thunk? After several hours, he exited the church building and walked back to Residence 1. Okay, well, that's the unknown male. 1 hour later, Robertson exited the church building and entered the Honda. And he drove out of sight. He drove around the block. And then he got out. After arriving at the residence, they spoke with Robertson outside. Do not talk to the police. Do not. That's my birthday wish. For you not to talk to the police. That would make my day. Help me with my birthday wish. Okay? I'm like, make a wish. For people not to talk to the goddamn cops. Do not. Ne pas. Niet. Nine. No. Oh. Do not talk to the cops. Please. Your life depends on it, believe it or not. So the conversation began when they called out Mr. Robertson, and he responded in the positive. He acknowledged. Do not answer random people. So they identified themselves as law enforcement. Okay. And he admitted his name was Winston for Eagles. Do not talk to the cops. Do not tell them anything. Don't lie. Don't make things up. But do not tell them things. Jesus. They told him they want to speak with him about his comments on the True Social platform. And he stated, I said it was a dream. Do not talk to the cops. I'll do it like a black woman. Do not talk to the cops. Okay? Do not talk to the cops. Mouth like a fucking statue. Robertson, though, then finally said, we're done here. Don't return without a warrant. Finally, he said the right thing. Took him long enough. So then they got a warrant for a court-authorized search, meaning they got a warrant for his second social media account, which is going to be a Facebook one. We'll see that. They talk about, based upon a review of the post, they know Robertson does in fact appear to own a sniper rifle and a ghillie suit. If you guys aren't aware what a ghillie suit is, it mimics vegetation, allows you, well, except for people in sniper courses, because otherwise people generally don't wear them, allows you to approach undetected and blend in with terrain because it's 3D camouflage. He's made violent threats to murder public officials and possessed numerous firearms. These posts show his intent to kill at a minimum the DA, Alvin Bragg, and President Biden. The posts show to intent and impede the special agents and FBI agents. I'm sure you little bitches were scared and fucking crying all the way home. It's so scary. So here are some of the screenshots. They're not in chronological order, which, would probably be critical, but let's look at them. So this one here is very interesting because it's been how long now? Since September 19th of 2022. Talking about assassinating President Biden and then Kamala. Okay, well, almost a year ago and nothing happened. Okay. September of 2022. Again, Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, the state of New York. Notice she's not listed in any of this complaint. Why don't they care about that poor black woman being threatened? And notice that they don't bring up these as part of their investigation. They're just using it to tack on and pile on things. He mentions again September 21st. And like a real boomer, I'm sure those of you out there who are aficionados would say, that's not how you spell Heinrich Himmler, and you're correct. But he calls Merrick Garland the Heinrich Himmler of America. Eventually hanged by the neck until dead. That's not a threat. This is not a threat either because he's not saying he's going to do it. He's just saying a sniper's bullet does not recognize your qualified immunity or prosecutorial immunity, and that's just a statement of fact. I would say this one here, the time is right for a presidential assassination or two. No different than Johnny Depp saying, when's the last time someone killed a president? I mean, that's not, he's just saying, hey, it would be really awesome if it happened. That doesn't mean he's going to do it. So no threats. Notice that they tack him on here, but they're not threats. Death to Joe Biden, death to Joe Biden, death to Joe Biden. Once again, if they're going to claim this is one, well, they didn't do anything about it for over a year. It didn't get. Apparently, Facebook didn't think this was important enough to warrant a report. Back in September of 2022, again, he says, "Hey, Merrick Garland, send your FBI SWAT team to my house. You won't because I fight back." Says he's wanting to bang it out with the feds, which be a base boomer about it. This my Democrat eradicator. Okay. Not saying he's going to use it. He's just calling it what it is. It's not a threat. Refers to a picture of semi-automatic rifle as an instrument used to cause death to persons belonging to the Democratic Party. Well, many Democrats don't probably count as people, so is that really a thing to worry about? I don't think so. So, October 3rd, he says Biden's a lying idiot and destroying America. Okay, death to Biden, death to Biden. That's not a death threat. Then we get to this beautiful stuff here, this beautiful bean footage. Long-range Democrat hypocrite eradicator. Like a true boomer, in all caps as well. Like all caps as well. That's just... Rosman Ranch says, does your Venmo have no picture? That is correct. That Venmo link down below, I need to fix that. But yes, that is my Venmo. Does not have a picture. Never thought about fixing that, but I need to do that. Thank you for correcting me on that. Stabby saying, shit or get off the pot, pal. Yeah. But we're going to get to some of this here. Eric saying this old dude rules. Yeah. Still are saying, yes, this guy's an amateur. Well, we're going to finish up here, though, with him. And this is not an M24. This is just some boomer tier nonsense. I'm sure that these are not high quality items, but hey, that's, his, Merrick Garland eradication tool. No, the Merrick Garland eradication tool was Mitch McConnell, because Mitch made Merrick his bitch. Coming for me with your FBI, you demented little weasel, cowardly asshole, and got some boomer tier lights and laser on there. He's referring this as an instrument used to cause a death to AG Garland. He's not saying it. He's like saying, if you do X, I'll do Y. That's not necessarily a threat. That's a conditional statement. Then he says again in October, notice they didn't include this as a threat in their statements above. And then he talks about another patriotic dream in October. Standing over Gavin Newsom with a wound above his brow and my suppressed MMP still smoking. Freedom from stupid day. And then in February 4th, that's presumably this year, but that's not 100% clear. It says, wonderful dream. I dreamed I was in a dark corner of a Washington, D.C. parking garage. I was standing over the body of AG Merrick Garland with a bullet hole in the center of his forehead. In my hand was my suppressed MMP 9, smoke wafting from the muzzle, and the Star Spangled Banner. Playing quietly in the distance. And I thought to myself, what an amazing patriotic moment, as shivers of liberty and freedom swelled from my heart for our amazingly great country. I believe this may have been the post Robertson referred to when he told the special agent and me, I said it was a dream. Maybe we don't. Here's the thing. You don't even know what he was referring to as part of your probable cause affidavit. Brilliant. This is just some straight up boomer. Oh, this is just boomer cringe from March. Shooting a nickel at 100 yards. That's boomer fuddiness right there. Boomer fuddiness out of a loopholed 12 power fixed. Yeah, good job. Going back through the November. Oh no, he's got a bunch of mean, scary assault rifles. Oh no. And he tried to attempt to obtain 3 more. Oh no. Oh no, screamed the federal agents. And here he says 11 hours ago, and this is the day it sounds like they came. This posted 2 days afterwards. He says, I posted about a dream of Alvin Bragg and the DA trying to prosecute Trump. I dreamed I was standing over him, watching his life, blood oozing from a 9mm bullet hole in his head. He was still twitching. The demented weasel Merrick Garland sent his jackboot Nazi FBI to screw with me about the post. Well, it sounds like he's clarifying and explaining this wasn't a threat. It was having a dream. That kind of defeats some of your purpose here. Defeats your initial probable cause that you initially came to investigate this guy. If it turns out he's saying it was a dream, you're like, well, I don't have much to do here. So this post, Nazi jackboot FBI, refers to the FBI in general and the SA Special Agent 1 and me in particular. You think? Because you guys are Nazi jackboot Nazis. Jackbooted Nazis. Or as G. Gordon Liddy used to say, feral hogs with thick hides made out of Kevlar. I wish I could say it like he used to, but it was really good. He says that, in March, he said, the demented weasel Merrick Garland needs a 12-gauge enema. Love the boomer spelling. He said this is posted the 24th. This is 5 days later. To my friends at the Federal Bureau of Idiots, which I'm sure that really hurt their feeler bugs. I know you're reading this and you have no idea how close your agents came to violent eradication. Still don't see the threat. And saying, but he's saying, I believe this refers to him assaulting and murdering me by shooting us with a firearm. Based on what? I believe he made this threat with the attempt to impede, intimidate, and interfere with the FBI agents engaged in their performance of their official duties. I believe a lot of things. I believe most of you in the FBI are dickless faggots. That must be true. If I said I believe, therefore it must be true. The FBI is populated by dickless faggots. Must be true now. Must be true. All you boys at Quantico, the biggest and most dickless of faggots. That's true. That's true. Still, I've said that one was lame. Yes. 2 Scoops of Destroyer says MLK had a dream and look what the FBI did to him. Yeah. Garfield says, yes, I like how he talks shit but censors his swearing. Yes, that is true boomer tier stuff. True boomer. True boomer. But hey, you're allowed to be a dumb boomer on the internet and post in all caps. And he said again at the same time, to my friends in the FBI, I know you're reading this, you have no idea how close your agents came to bang. Was he talking about he was going to bang them like homosexually? Because that's okay. Maybe the bang energy drink. Maybe shoot him. I don't know. Like the previous posting, I believe he made this with the intent to scare us. Okay. Then he talks about like the FBI tried to interfere with my right to free speech right in my driveway. By 45, I was ready to smoke him. He says this, but was he ready to do that actually? I mean, he says it was ready. Where was it? Because he wasn't armed. He didn't have it in his hands. I'm sure they thought if he was armed, they would have disarmed him or approached him in a different manner. So the FBI, refers to me. 45 refers to a 45 caliber handgun, which would be appropriate for a boomer. And smoke him refers to shooting those two, which, okay, well, oh well. And then he said on another day, hey, Alvin, a sniper's bullet may violate your rights just like your policies violate Manhattan residents' rights. That's not a threat. Show me the threat. It's not a threat. I believe this to be a true threat to shoot Bragg with a firearm. We'll see why that's an issue. Dig deeper, Alvin Bragg. There's not a hole deep enough to hide from a sniper's bullet. It's still not a threat. Then he talks about, oh no, more scary guns. Oh no, so scary. And then he says, hey, FBI, you still monitoring my social media, checking so I can be sure to have a handgun ready in case you drop by again. He's allowed to be armed. There is no prohibition on being armed in the presence of federal agents. I believe this to be a death threat. Well, I believe that you're a faggot. Once again, a dickless little faggot who's scared of American citizens. And I believe that your wife finds solace in the arms of a boyfriend and he buys you a Nintendo Switch every Christmas. I mean, I can believe a lot of things. And then he says here, if I told you what I'd like to do to Joe Biden, Facebook would censor me and the FBI would pay me another visit. So if I told you what I'd like to do, everybody would get mad at me and the police would investigate me. Well, that doesn't mean what he's saying. What's he saying? That's not a threat. I believe it to be a threat of violence. Once again, yes, I'm sure it does in your menstruative, logic. And then these are just blurry and crappy. You can't tell when they're from. When Joe Biden's finally assassinated, no one will give a damn because he ain't black, not a joke. Okay. Joe Biden's doing another basement campaign because he's so hated that assassination attempts will increase 100-fold. Well, I mean, is this guy going to be doing all 100-fold assassinations? No. He's just commenting. Not a threat. Looking forward to the death of Joe Biden so I can just piss on his grave. Okay. Not a threat. Now this one here. I hear Joe Biden's coming to Utah. I need to digging up my old ghillie suit and clean the dust off my M24 rifle. Welcome, buffoon in chief. One's a little more ambiguous, but that will get the federal government's attention. So they talk about how they know he had a ghillie suit. Now, here's the issue. Look at this date. May 4th of 2009. 15 years ago when this guy was 60. For those of you who don't understand, when you go from 60 to 75, that is a massive change on your body. 60 to 65 is huge. 65 to 70 is even more of a change. And then 70 to 75 is even more of a change from 60 to 65. The amount your body's going through. This guy was from 15 years ago. So once again, they point out this is from 2009. That he was walking around with a cane. It doesn't sound like he was able to move. Would he have actually been a threat? It doesn't sound like it. But if he really was a threat, then, I don't know, sit on him. Because if he's just some boomer talking shit, you'll find out pretty quick because Biden was in the area. Great. If he gets into his car and starts driving along, you can stop him. Conduct a search. We believe that he said he was going to do it and he got in a car and drove there. Okay, well, you could probably get enough probable cause to search his car. Guess what we found? A gun and a ghillie suit. Bam, arrest him. But until he does, there is nothing they can do at that point. They shouldn't have. And I love the FBI agent here saying, well, this demonstrates his ability to conduct sniper tactics. Yeah, some tactics. Like if he's really doing this, he gets spotted from a mile away and dropped. While these postings are somewhat dated, by dated, these are 15 years old. This isn't like 15 minutes ago or 2 months ago. 15 years ago. Obama just became president in March of 2009. May of 2009. Obama hasn't even been president. Well, he's been president for over 100 days at that point. Hold on. January, February to March, and April. Almost 100 days. Obama's first 100 days in office. That's how far back we're going. We're still in Iraq fighting the Iraq War. The surge is going on or getting ready to happen. That's what happened here. So they went ahead and executed a warrant on him. And as they executed that warrant, they killed him. They killed him. They killed him. And it's not clear what happened. It is not clear. And it's funny, the amount of people out there running around, the people screaming for Michael Brown and Jacob Blake, they're like, oh, fuck this guy. Yes, when the police shoot somebody, now they're just all over themselves wanting to gobble that cock. Yes, forgive me if I don't trust the FBI. Since they've demonstrated their entire organization at the headquarters level fucks around, and then at the local levels routinely fucks around. Forgive me for not believing them. And when did we know what they did? Because somebody filmed the actual raid going down at the beginning. One of his neighbors. And we have that. It's a little loud, but it's also not the best. But here you go. This is the FBI. They have regional SWAT teams of agents in the area. So Salt Lake City probably is a big enough office. They have enough agents who can form a tactical team. People were wondering, is this like the hostage rescue team, like the tier 1 unit? No, they aren't coming out for this. But they show up and here they go. Oh, come on, you fucker. This is at 6:15 in the morning. So her neighbor, as soon as they threw a flashbang, dropped down, which is great. Which is great. You know, they could have done this a bunch of different ways to go after him. You know, they could have, if they thought he was dangerous, you know, just like David Koresh, you know, when they talk about Waco, they had the opportunity to seize Koresh when he was out and about, who routinely made visits out into the world. They could have stopped him outside the compound and that would have been it. This guy goes around. They could have stopped him, but they didn't. They decided to hit him first thing in the morning. And who knows if he was armed or not? We don't know. I don't trust the government's accounting of this yet. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Pope Brackets touched me saying, "Happy birthday. I'd give you money if I could." Hey, there's no requirement to. I appreciate the thought. Thank you for saying happy birthday. Fair Frozen 55 for $5. Thank you. Is saying, I wonder if he knows drones are the thing. You show up like a sore thumb. They'll send goons after you if you're in the woods with a rifle near the president. Yes. But that's why he's a stupid boomer. Tadano Hito saying, stop Fed posting. Well, there's an option too, but he was once again was not breaking the law, in my opinion. Barton Bell is saying Danny On broke this down last night since he's a Mormon too. She brought up some great points about how they could have done this since he's a Mormon. Yeah, they could have brought it, like hit him when he's going out and about. They could have done it a bunch of different ways, but no, they had to flex on him. Chance Schofield is saying, do we know where Lon Horiuchi of Ruby Ridge fame was during this? No, we don't. Sierra says he types in all caps. Yes, he does. Still Life says this is some real life Sandy Hook. Yeah, kind of. Walter Malone for $4.99 says a troon goes on a shooting spree. All info is suppressed. Boomer gets smoked at his own home. Everything said last 15 years drops that night. I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Just saying. But thank you for the super chat. Zero Fucks is saying for $5, roses are red, claws are white. Plead the fifth to the cops. It's an American's right. Happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate it. Job well done says FBI body cams. Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, God, you had me there for a second. Just me saying yes. The local sheriff saying that if they wanted David Koresh to come in, they would have called and he would have showed up. Yep. Dracamo saying, what the fuck? I can't give you my free Prime sub for your birthday. Oh, I have a Prime subscription, so that's probably something I'm going to set up soon. Watching stuff on Twitch through Prime. Lame Twitch didn't partner you. Yeah, well, not yet. I'm also not I'm not a communist or a troon, although that's pretty much the same thing anyway. So, I'm not a bread tuber. So that's going to be hard for me to get partnered there. But thank you for the thought. I appreciate it. Yes, Stabby's right. For more Fed posting, join the Discord. Yes. 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 Rosamond saying sent me. Oh. Hold on here. I'm going to see what it is you sent just so I can say thank you. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Oh, great. It's down. That's typical. Jacob Castro saying, I doubt it. I doubt it. Oh, Allison. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Saying, $10, saying you are effing hilarious. Always thank you. Always love you on the streams. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And then, also, you sent that a couple days ago, and I'm sorry I didn't see that one yet, but I just saw it now. And then saying, happy birthday. I promise to never talk to the cops. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, for some reason, this is not doing my, doesn't raise my notifications, but I'll fix that. So thank you very much. Kim was saying, wow, even I'm partnered on Twitch. Well, I'll have to talk to you about how to fix that. Torgo the White says, get that butt. Yes. Dracula says, I need to practice not talking to the cops. Well, it's easy. Just, you can try it at home. You can do it while you're on the toilet. SP Seller says, the FBI has a body cam policy on their own site. Why have we never seen any? Because we're peasants. That's why. But that said, I hope justice gets done here, but I'm not holding my breath. But things may change. Now, I guess on to, Coasty is a new member. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Thank you. See, in the right Doge, not the NAFO fella. This is the right Doge, the good Doge. So the last thing tonight is, well, gambling in sports and what's gone on in Iowa, which you wouldn't think this is a crime, but once again, it's not what you did, but it's what you did in response to what you did, which I know that sounds weird, but it's what happened. So in Iowa football and some Iowa State students, there's been a betting scandal. Some of the students were alleged to have bet on all the on Hawkeye games. So 4 people associated with the program have been accused of betting on games over 2 seasons past. According to the prosecutor's office, they were charged with tampering with records. Notice, it's not illegal to bet on the games. But if there's an investigation and they're covering it up, well, that gets you into trouble. Now, there's also the idea, if you're point shaving, which don't do that because that's never a good look. And point shaving is where you bet on a game and you point shave and you make sure that you meet the lines that are paying out. And you get the over-unders and you hit all those. That's point shaving. Generally, it's tied to organized crime. So if you start doing that, wow, you will get investigated very hard. So the school said they identified 26 current student athletes and 111 individuals total. 4 Iowa State players are also facing records tampering charges, and they were filed in their county. So here's the issue. Okay. So one of the guys used a DraftKings account and he used a fake name to place bets on 18 games. Okay. So he made 132 bets totaling, $32.89 per wager. That includes 2 under bets in 2022. including a game where they met the under, which the over-under was 37.5 points, and a 21-point win where it was 31.5. He caught 3 passes in the win versus Northwestern, but he didn't participate in the Music City Bowl. But that looks like you might have been involved in point shaving. What were you doing? How did you do it? That's not a good look, man. So here are the games that he bet for. And here's what he did in those games. Now, granted, this guy wasn't a stellar athlete or making, all kinds of great stuff in there, but it draws into question what you were doing. So he eventually transferred and went to Oklahoma State. Yeah, and look at 2022. Yeah, this is a snoozer. This guy didn't do a whole lot. These other guys, they also mentioned they did a DraftKings account and they bet on all kinds of games. This guy betted on games he wasn't involved in. That said, though, he worked with his mom to place bets. Why don't you just tell her to do the bets? Hey, Mom, put $50 on Iowa. Why do you have to get this involved? This is not hard. This other guy, he placed 350 bets totaling, $3,000. $8.70 per wager. These guys, and here's the deal. Once you start doing this, there's a suspicion you're engaging in point shaving and that you're influencing the outcome. Okay? And whether or not they're betting on their own sports, whether or not they're playing in the game, there's concerns you're affecting it. So these guys were charged with record tampering when they falsified, destroyed, or removed or concealed the records with the intent to conceal any wrongdoing. And the issue is they likely deleted their apps and probably bricked their phones. Yeah, I don't see the problem here, but here's the problem. They fucked themselves. Once again, they may not have done an illegal crime because they could prove I wasn't point shaving. Fine. Then you're not in trouble. But trying to protect themselves from the NCAA, but then the government's investigating the point shaving, they nuked their accounts, they nuked their phones. Great. And I'm sure they got warrants and were able to track and figure out that these accounts existed anyway. So, like dumbasses, they got in trouble. The cover-up was worse than the crime. So, good job. Drekema says, I need a Bitcoin wallet. I do have a wallet. I have a trust wallet. I got to figure out where the hell that's at again. I'll work on that. So the NCAA is a criminal organization, yes. So, but yes, this is just don't be a dumb fuck. Don't be a dumb fuck. They would have got suspended from their games probably. They would have got caught. But now they're facing felony charges. So now the NCAA has kicked them out and suspended them. And a couple of them made it to the NFL, but now they're out of the NFL and suspended. And now they got felonies. So the guys that got to the NFL were making the minimum salary, which is $300,000 a year, which is what you get in the NFL. And now, they're toast. So, and I'll be right back because I got to pay the water bill. And in the meantime, we are going to we're going to talk about locals. At potentiallycriminal.locals.com, you get access to a wide variety of content, including the Thursday after show, which immediately follows the Thursday night live stream, and also the weekly Monday night stream. You also get access to links, articles, comments, and other content I haven't released but decided to share here. As a supporter, you can also post your own links and stories for the community to comment on. The join is free and support is only $3 a month. Support for 10 months and you get 2 months free. For a 1-month free trial, use the promo code CRIMINAL. I'll see you over on Locals. Okay, we're back. Sorry, had to pay the water bill. Yes, ball handlers. Yes, also, I know I'm working on that. Wrestler Town says, well, they could still get in the NFL if they repent and just beat their girlfriends. Yes. And Torgo the White says, yes, you got to love those cartels with state exemptions. Yes. Chapel Dunn says, do I pee in my basement? No. And if you join Locals, you'll see the studio tour and you'll understand I do not. Furby says, for $2, I still love you, Mr. Also. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. We are all done. Kept it right under 2 hours. I'm very impressed with myself. So that is it. I want to thank everybody who's here, everybody on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Rumble. I tried to get it going. Sorry. Rumble fought me again. We'll work on that for next time. If you guys didn't catch it this morning, I did cover the Leah Remini versus Scientology lawsuit that was filed. It's very interesting. Very interesting how they talk about how bad they've screwed her over the years. So it's definitely worth a look into. Everybody here on YouTube, thank you so very much. Over on Locals, thank you guys. I always love it. And if you guys want to join us, we'll be over in Locals starting the after show, usually for about a half hour, 45 minutes. And I want to say to everybody here, thank you for your comments. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subscribe, share. I always appreciate that. Thank you to everybody who sent in a super chat. I really appreciate that. I know that it's your hard-earned money, and I appreciate you want to send it here to me and spend it here. That's always been it's always been something I truly appreciate. Yes, I pee on the floor like Jeremy. No, I do not. The dog pees on the floor. So that is Jim Das Boot is saying Cyrax court is updated the 30th. Will you still make the trial? Well, he has a pre-trial date that day, and it's not set for trial. So we're gonna have to see what happens. We're gonna see what date that gets set. So no, everything's been continued. We'll find out what's happening going forward. So I will see all you guys over on Locals. And remember, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Good night, everybody.